Hello again, it's Amy from Amy's Mix of Creativity. I'm back with a new video. Sorry I haven't been around lately. How's everybody? I hope everyone's doing well. I've had a very busy month. Gonna show you some things and I'll talk about what's been going on while I'm showing you. So to start with, I have some really pretty paper from Crafter's Companion. Here are some samples that I'm going to show you in a few minutes how I cut up so that they can be used in different crafting projects. Here is the Crafter's Companion paper pad that I found. It's called Pearl Paper Pad. I found this at Joann's in a different state than where I live. I was visiting my son from college, at his college, and I went to see a Joann's that was in that area. So not all of them will have it, so I'm not sure if you can get it even through them anymore anyway. It may be something that needs to be ordered online if you're interested, but it is a beautiful paper pad. And let me just show you. First of all, I'm going to move my paper cutters out of the way. I'm going to talk about these paper cutters in a minute, to talk about some tips and, when cutting paper, like some things that might work best. But first I want to show you some of this paper. This paper is beautiful. It's Pearl Paper Pad. They have all kinds of Crafter's Companion papers that have come out that have these beautiful, it's gonna be a little hard because it is a big paper pad. I have to try to get it in, there you go. Okay, in my range of view here. The paper pad is got a pearlescent shine to it. They do have other papers, 12 by 12s and 6 by 6 pads that have various flowers on them. They're very saturated. I think they're beautiful, but not always easy to deal with because this is a lot, right? It's kind of busy. You get three pieces per sheet, and they are double-sided. They have some beautiful prints on the back too. Okay, I took out the third sheet so I could cut some up, which I always try to take out the second or third sheet in a paper pad to use right away, so I can, or at least, have in my stash so I'll know what I have. These paper pads, it's very pretty with delicate little white fat flowers on here. These paper pads are really great to have, 12 by 12s, but sometimes it's a lot of paper. These are really thick pieces too, so it's great for crafting and with making cards, obviously in scrapbooking, with any kind of projects you want to use. They might be a little bit thick for some projects, but the paper itself is really high quality. Here again is the back of that. Try to show the front and the back. It's not going to be as easy for me because of the way my camera's angled, but that's just the way I have to have it. So as I'm showing you these pieces of paper, I'll just talk a little bit quick about what's going on. I'm trying to keep doing these videos, but it has become difficult because now my life is going to become more and more busy as spring goes by, as we get into summer. Here's the back of that sheet. So over the last month, we've had some crazy things happening. We had an earthquake in the state that I live in, so it was really crazy. Rarely ever have earthquakes. We had a pretty big earthquake, and we've had many, like 150 aftershocks. I think it's up to 170 now of aftershocks. So that's really kind of been bothering me. It it kind of gets to me when I feel a lot of vibration. So yeah. Anyway. Okay, so then we get in, this is like rainbow colored, so we're getting into the like yellows and oranges. Very pretty and sunny for spring and upcoming summer. It's more flowers, so little cute little flowers. So then after the earthquake, we had the solar eclipse, which was not that big of a deal where I live, but my son got to see it really well where he goes to school in upstate New York, so that was good. So he had a lot of fun seeing that, and he got to see some really good pictures. Yeah, he got to get some good pictures. So then I went and visited my son, toured his school with my my brother and his wife and their son, my nephew, who is in high school, who hopefully will, he's going to be starting to like look into colleges soon. So we got to go visit him. I'm saying we visited my son Jake at college. So we were able to do that as a family. My husband wasn't able to go because of tax season. He's an accountant. So he's actually up there now. Actually, he's on his way back home now. But he visited him for the weekend, this weekend, to see him before school gets out in 2 weeks. And then we're going to go back up again in 2 weeks. So for our family, that's 3 major, 3 big trips, because it's a 4-hour drive. It takes a little while. The drive isn't too bad, and we have family up there, so it's nice, but it is quite a bit of a trip. So, I like this with these colors, with the blues and purples together, and a little bit of pink added in. Very pretty. So there's like a little bit of a shine, a little bit of a sheen on. Some of them are more, you can see much more than others. And on the backs are very matte and almost a little bit muted, so that in monotone. So it's a little bit color on color, so you can use that as backgrounds more than the fronts. The fronts I would say would be used mainly as the fronts of cards, like a topper, embellishments, die cuts, things like that. Okay, so we're getting into the blues and greens, and now going in more into the purple shades, which this is just really pretty. I hope you can see how that's shining, getting a little bit of shadow now in the afternoon, late afternoon. It's hot here. It's hot where I live, but hope you can see that, and it looks really nice. So the other thing that's going on in my life, and if you know me, I have some chronic illnesses. I'm actually going for genetic testing to find out if there is a main reason for me having so many chronic illnesses, and it does seem to be that it is a certain issue. So I'm not going to really get into that now. Maybe I'll talk about it in a future video, but when I talk about how to deal with chronic illness more, I'll see these are very like plain, just with stripes on them. I've had chronic illness my whole life, my whole adult life too, and I find that hobbies and paper crafting are really helpful to me to relax and have something special that's mine, that I do on my own, that I take, that I enjoy. So I will talk also about how you can use paper crafting as a good hobby to help with relaxation, and like help if you have physical issues. It might help with you, like if you have hand issues. My hands get hurt a lot when I'm doing a lot of crafting, but it also helps because it keeps them mobile and not too stiff when I'm doing paper crafting. I'm stuck on this one because I really like that, all those purples and pinks together. Okay, and that's the back of that, and that's the end of that paper. So again, this is called the Crafter's Companion Pearl Paper Pad, 12 by 12. There are 36 pieces. So there's 3 designs of each sheet. It is double-sided, so that's a great find, and it's very thick. It's 250 GSM, which is really high on the GSM, which just means that, it's got quite a bit of thickness, so it's good for cardstock. I wouldn't use it for like envelope making or making any any like bags or like gift bags, or special like things that you would have to crease very, very strongly so that it could fold. It is quite thick, and here I'll show you. This is some, like I was showing, these are some pieces that I already cut. Okay, here's some you can make them into 6 by 6, and it's pretty thick, as you can see. Okay, so when I get a 12 by 12 paper pad, I like to pretty much immediately cut it in, or at least take out one sheet and cut that sheet up so that I can see what it will look like into pieces like this. So I'm gonna bring out my big huge cutter I got this year for Christmas. I would not recommend this cutter, just mainly because I didn't realize when I bought it that it is all the measurements are in mainly in millimeters and centimeters, and it's the inches. And what I mean by that is the inches up here don't correspond with the special, you know, templates that they put on directly on the bottom of this paper cutter. They don't measure out to the same sizes that I would use as a card maker, because they're European, I guess, or whatever. And so it's not as good of a paper cutter as I would have liked to buy, but it was cheap, so I wanted to get an inexpensive one because I have several paper cutters, which actually I'll just show you the other two that I have right here. I have a regular one that, you know, that zips. I don't know what call it, a paper trimmer, but you know, it has the trimming. I had a little trouble with it. I'm gonna put it back in. But I have one of those. I have a bigger one of those too that's 12 by 12 that I've used in the past. And I went out and bought a little tiny guillotine. The guillotine is the kind that cuts like a guillotine. Be very careful if you buy these. Don't use them around children. I would definitely, as a tip, I would definitely not buy a guillotine cutter if you're worried about it, because I sometimes have found that, you know, if I'm not careful, I feel like I might cut myself. I never have, but you never know. You want to be careful. Obviously there's a safety. Both have safety guides, so that's good. But when you're buying a trimmer or buying a paper cutter, you know, think about what you really are doing it for. What you need it for. If you need it to cut a lot of things and you're worried that you're gonna dull the blade very quickly, then a guillotine might be a better choice. I cut a lot of paper, so I like the guillotines better, although some of the times they start getting a little warped and then they don't cut as well, so that's also a consideration. So it really depends on, you know, what you personally would prefer, and which kinds you like. Okay, so I'm just gonna go and show what I've done in the past when I get a piece of paper. And this has a safety guard that can be removed, so that's a cool aspect of this paper cutter. So I thought that was neat when I went to buy it. And it also has an arm that comes down to, like, and it's a magnet, so it kind of grasps the paper when you put the paper in. So I tend to remove these to make it a little easier to get the paper in. Here's some of the really pretty pearlescent paper from that pearl paper pad from Crafter's Companion. So I'm just going to show you what I would do right away is cut it in half. Cut the whole 12 by 12 sheet in half. Okay, the 6 by, I mean, if you want to cut it the whole thing into really small sizes, then you may want to cut it in thirds, which would be three cuts of 4 inches, and then you cut those up. But what I'm going to show you right now is just how I usually do it right away, just so I can see what the paper looks like cut up. Because when you go to put it on a card or whatever, you want to have an idea if it's the type of paper you want to use. Some paper might be more busy. Some paper might look really nice, but you're not sure what size you want, how you want to deal with it. Okay, so here I have 6 by 12 sheet. Now you could cut this in half and then you'd have 2 6 by 6 sheets, obviously, right? What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put this in. I'm going to cut this, and I'm not going to worry about putting it down. I'm just going to use my hand, but be very careful around the blade. That blade is very sharp. So I'm going to make this a 3 by 4. Okay, And 3x4s are often good for card making. It's really good to have if you want to have, you know, the interior of a card. If you want a matte or want a bigger piece to put on to a regular size card, then you'd want something smaller than this. I mean, not smaller, I'm sorry, bigger for a matte. If you want something smaller, you obviously can cut that down too, but I'm going to do 4x3. And if you want to cut these in half, go at 3. I'm still in view there. Okay, and then you got 2 little pieces that are they measure 3x4. Okay, so these are obviously bigger. They're going to measure 3x6. Okay, so then you can use these smaller versions of the bigger, you know, half of this for different, you know, for various uses. But I keep them for when I do planning or when I'm paper crafting, when I'm making cards. They're good to like cut things out of also. So you can use your die cuts and your paper and your punches to make other designs out of these smaller pieces. But then you have things to work with, and when you go to use your you know, when you go to start a project, you have papers that can help you decide on how you want your project to look. Okay, so thanks for joining me. I'm going to end this this little tutorial now. Okay, for now, I wanted to talk about paper and all the various ways you can cut up paper and how to use it in crafting. And in the future, I'm going to be, like I said, trying to talk a little more about using, you know, paper crafting and other hobbies as stress relief. And I'm going to go into hopefully showing some of my other stash too. So please subscribe, please come back, please, if you can just, you know, send me a line saying that you're happy to be joining me and that you would love to see more of these type of videos. I look forward to doing them in the future, and have a good day. Thank you. Bye.